Hello, guys. Welcome back to this review live streaming. Then it will become a video, actually. Finally, I made it. Look, I know that you were waiting for this moment for such a long time, but it took me a little bit of time. This is just the Stardust Crusader Part 1. So sorry for that, but really, really soon I am about to watch Part 2 and then of Stardust Crusaders, and then I will watch Part 4, so I will be able to reach Part 6, that means Stone Ocean, that is starting actually for us here living in Japan, and for people who don't have a Netflix, it will start in January. While I know that for you who have a Netflix, you will be able to watch Part 6 from the 1st of December. I will skip it because I don't have Netflix, and second of all, I will skip all the spoilers, so I will be ready to reach January the 7th, my birthday, yeah! To watch episode 1 of Stone Ocean, so don't worry about that. Today, I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts regarding this first part of Stardust Crusaders, and let's join in this adventure dedicated to Jotaro Kujo, that is the new JoJo we are getting in touch with. We all know that he is the nephew of Joseph Joestar, and if you didn't watch my thoughts regarding Battle Tendency, you can find them on the playlist regarding anime or movie reviews or live streamings. So if you wanted to check out the previous thoughts regarding the two previous parts of JoJo, you will find them on the channel. Okay, anyway. First of all, I wanted to say that I liked this part, even if it's a little bit different from the previous two parts, because as we all know from this third part, there is this new way to control their ability, I mean, their power, thanks to this stand. That is the new thing that is coming from part 3. And okay, first of all, I wanted to talk about Jotaro Kujo, that is the main protagonist of this season of JoJo. And let me tell you honestly, at the beginning, first of all, he has the voice acting of Erwin in Shingeki no Kyojin, so I really like that. Good voice acting, I have to say, because he really could express things thanks to this voice acting. These are rudeness, arrogance, and things like this that is typical of this character. Because at the beginning, we see that Jotaro Kujo, he's yeah, arrogant. He seems to be rude. He doesn't want to talk to other people. And at the beginning, we have this image of him. But then, the more we go on with this part 1, the more we understand that he is hiding other type of feelings, especially towards his family. So I like these sort of characters that they are hiding other feelings that they are so difficult to show, and they prefer these sort of shield of protection. So I like Jotaro. I think that he's okay. In Italian, we say il gigante buono. That means the kind titan that doesn't have anything to do with the Shingeki no Kyojin thing. But I like him because even if he thinks that people believe that he is arrogant or rude and things like this, the more we go on, the more we see that even Joseph understands for real that he cares about his family, or even, yes, even Susie, his grandma, she knows that Jotaro cares, but it's just a way to protect himself, for what I understood, or it's a way to not be discovered so easily. And let me tell you honestly, Jotaro Kujo lives in Japan, and I think that This is the typical side of a Japanese people too. They don't like to show your real feelings from the beginning. So I think that this was the real and the good way to portray to him in the best way. So I think that yeah, Araki made a good job to underline this personality Jotaro has, because it's perfectly fine, and it's fitting perfectly the Japanese culture. I don't want to say that all Japanese people are arrogant or rude or something. I'm just saying that Japanese people tend to have this side of their personality that can be shown to the society, and the other side of the personality that usually they are showing it to private. I mean, into their private life. That means their family, their friends, their intimate friends, and things like this. So, if you don't know what I mean, even these. Contrast between society and private life. Here in Japan, we have two terms, honne and tatemae. So if you search online, you understand what I mean. But anyway, yeah, Jotaro was telling me this. And I have to be honest. I think that Jotaro is really similar to Joseph for some aspects, because if you remember, even with the battle tendency, I was telling you that at the beginning, even Joseph, he seemed to be rude, and he seemed to be so arrogant towards women or towards other people. But then, the more we went on discovering this character, we understood that even Joseph was having that sort of attitude, but then it was corresponding to something totally the opposite. So I think that, yeah, grandpa and nephew, they have some things in common. But yeah, I think the Jotaro. Now I don't know what's happening in part two, of course, but maybe the more I will go on with the part two, the more he is going to reveal himself more. Let's see. I can't wait to watch part two, of course. But yeah, one of the most important things in this part one was the Dio comes back, because in this case we see that the coffin in which Dio was put at the end of season one was found by these people in the middle of the ocean, and even the time skip is quite great, because battle tendency was around the Second World War or something like that, and now we are at the end of the 80s. So we have a time gap of 40 years. And in fact, we see that even Joseph is a little bit older than before. And I like one side of Joseph at the beginning, when he says, for my daughter, I'm ready to go and take a flight to Japan to meet her and to help her. And I can't wait to meet her. So, as you can see, even Joseph at the beginning, when he was young, was different than now. And thanks to experience, he could change, especially if we are talking about his daughter Holly. He is becoming a real dad, really protective, and as soon as Holly was there, or she was calling him, I think, yeah, Joseph can be more mature than before, and this is a part of growing older for sure. But I think this thing is happening even with the Jotaro, with the Jolene in part six. Let's see how Jotaro will change in part six. I can't wait to see this difference before and after, because of course there will be some differences, and I can't wait to see if even a Jotaro can change when it's about his daughter. Let's see, can't wait. But anyway, yeah, Dio comes back. Sorry if I look down, it's because I made some notes, otherwise I don't want to forget anything. Okay, but anyway, yeah, we see that Dio is back. And one of the main themes, as always, is that there is good and evil. There is this match. There is these opposites going on, and of course, one can't survive without the other one. I mean, I think opposites in life exist, And this is the clear example. You always have a good part and a bad part. You always have a good versus evil. This is something really obvious, not just in JoJo, but even in many other stories we saw. But I think, yeah, this huge contrast and the fact that there is this connection between the Joestars and, of course, the Brando family, even if it's just a Dio in this case. Yeah, when he was, I mean, when Dio was showing us that he took the body of Jonathan, I was like, oh no, this will be painful for Joseph, but also for Jotaro, because it seems as if they have to go against their own relative, because the body is that of Jonathan and the head is that of Dio. But by having that star, that is the mark that makes you understand that it's from a Joestar family, I think in part two, when they have to defeat Dio, maybe Jotaro will feel a sort of pain, or even Joseph, by recognizing that they have to defeat, as if they are defeating Joseph, his grandpa, let's call him like this. And then regarding Jotaro, maybe Jotaro will care less because there is not a real blood connection, if we have to be honest. But I wanted to see even Joseph's reaction. Let's see, I can't wait for that moment too. But yeah, one of the most important thing is, yes, uh, good versus evil. I think in most of the shonen we saw, and other shonen they are coming. Yeah, there is always this contrast, and I think that's why shonen manga, they are so popular and so important even nowadays, because we have to face the fact that the world is not good, and that's it. No, we have even this evil side of the world, and we have to face it. There's nothing else to do. So I like this realism anyway, no matter if these shonen manga is called the bizarre adventures. And in fact, throughout part one of this third season, some things are totally bizarre, and it made me laugh so much, because even the adventures they are having throughout the countries, things like this, oh look, it made me laugh honestly. So I was having fun, yeah, to be honest, even if sometimes it was there was the tension, there was this atmosphere. Yeah, one thing that I didn't tell you, even with the battle tendency, I like the fact that they underline the sounds with the onomatopoeia. I think this is something that didn't happen in other stories that I've watched. I think this is just a JoJo for me so far. And I really like that because in manga, onomatopoeias, they are really important. They can let you understand what's going on. If you follow me since the beginning of this channel, my husband and I were making a video regarding onomatopoeias. And yeah, onomatopoeia, they are quite essential for Japanese people to describe a certain sound, to make it clear to people. And sometimes they use even contract words that can mean onomatopoeia, like doki doki, or fua fua, and things like this. So I really like that in JoJo, in this adventure that is lasting quite long, yeah, five parts, but I like that they put this onomatopoeia to recognize the atmosphere, or to describe the sound that you can hear. This is something unusual, but I really like it because it seemed as if I was part of the manga, even if I'm not reading it. So I appreciated this style. I think it was innovative, and I really enjoyed. Yeah. And I forgot to tell you last time, so it doesn't regard the Stardust Crusaders only, but even bottle tendency. um, but yeah, another great thing that I noticed is that there is these good intentions to protect your family. I mean, the concept of a family as if it's something important, unique, like a gem, like a pearl to protect. And I like this side of the Joesters because no matter the centuries, I mean, no matter the decades in this case, they always find a way to protect one another. And even if they have some different ways to approach to the different members. For example, Jotaro, every time his mom is calling him, is kissing him, is hugging him. Okay, she's a little bit bizarre because she's treated as if she's the child and he is the adult. But I can understand Holly because if you when you become a mom and you see your son growing so fast, you still believe that that's my child, that's my tiny baby boy. We always think like this when we become moms. So I appreciate Holly for this reason. But on the other side, it was pretty funny to see that when she was trying to hug him, he was saying, come on, leave me alone. That attitude is typical of teenagers. And okay, Jotaro is not a teenager anymore. He's 18 and 19 or something. But and he's I mean, he has great muscles. Yeah. The proportion of the body was a little bit strange because for a 19-year-old boy, okay, it's too much, but that's something bizarre once again. But yeah, I have to say that these relationship mother and son, or even when there is this relationship grandpa nephew that we see later, I like how they approach with one another because, as I told you, they use an attitude, but actually they wanted to express something else that they don't want to, or they are so ashamed to, or they feel so shy to do something like this. Yeah, once again, I think this is a typical characteristic of Japan or of Japanese people in a good and in the bad way. It's not important how, but it's important the fact that this attitude is typical of these countries. So I think that even Jotaro has this feeling towards his mom, and we see clearly that he wants to reject her because she is giving him too much attention. But as soon as a Holly is feeling bad, you see that his facial expression is changing, or he's noticing the fact that in the morning, Holly was not coming to kiss him as usual, and he felt as if he was missing something. So I don't think that Jotaro is bad. I just think that he's hiding his feelings because he was growing in a country where usually feelings have to be not so shine. I mean, they don't have to shine so much, but they have to stay a little bit inside your person. And yeah, while Ollie, she is the daughter of Joseph, she has a totally different attitude, and you see it, in fact. But that's something different. We are just talking about two different cultures, and Jotaro is a mixture. So I think he took some sides from the father and some other sides from the mother. That means, for example, I think Jotaro took from his mom the strength, this way to find a solution, or this way to go on. Because even Holly, no matter how she was treated by him, she was always going on, perpetrating her actions over and over again. So I think this is a good thing, even if she was a little bit bizarre for what we said before. But yeah, I think Jotaro will change a little bit. This is what I expect. But yeah, as soon as he recognized that his mother was feeling bad, or there was something wrong, out of this routine that every day Jotaro was going out, and then Holly was coming, she was giving him the breakfast, and then she was saying bye, 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 bye. Something was changing. And as soon as he saw that his mother's life was in danger, he switched. I mean, he was looking suspiciously to somebody else. He was trying to find the best way immediately. Come on, let's save her, let's do something, etc., etc. I want to know what's going on. So that means that he cares. And in fact, at the end of Stardust, the Crusaders, with part one, when we see even Grandma Susie, she has this feeling. She says, Jotaro is a nice guy, and I can feel it. She knows that her nephew is kind, and I still believe so too. So let's see. But throughout the episodes, you see that he's changing little by little, not immediately. And this is good because it was not realistic at all. But for some reason, you see a change been going on, and this is what I liked. Of course, part two is coming, so let's see what I can find, what I can capture. But definitely, I think that he has a particular love for his family, but it's the way in which he's showing this love, the big deal. I think that they will show us something about Jotaro that can change, or as I was telling you, maybe in a part six, when he is going to meet his daughter. Maybe we will see a Jotaro that is totally different. Stay tuned. I can't wait. Um, then another thing, yeah, I was anticipating at the beginning, we see that there is this figure of the stand that in part one and part two it was not there. It's coming from the part three, and then the part four, and then of course even a part five, etc., etc. So these this figure of the stand that is changing the way in which during a battle the two contendants are going to win or to lose. The importance of the stand, it is like a shield actually, but is this spirit made by these concentrical waves that we saw even in part two or part one, but now it's something different. It's always involving these waves, but in a different way. And yeah, it's like a shield, as if these characters they have like a double Jotaro, double Kakyoin, double Polnareff, things like this, as if yeah, this shield is the representation of their power, and thanks to that they can fight, they can defend themselves, and things like this. So these stand, and so many stands, because in this part one there was the fair of the stands, because in each episode there was one stand or two stands in a row. So for me it's difficult to remember all the names of the stands, but if you show them to me I remember them all, of course. um, but yeah, this new way to battle. Um, at the beginning, I have to be honest with you. Okay, at the beginning, I thought that I preferred what I saw in part one and part two. I mean, these way to explore their body, and everything was seen from the inside, because these amazing power was coming from innerly speaking, I mean, from the inside of the characters, and they had to try to think, to focus, to find themselves. While the stance is something that is portrayed outside of the character. I mean, it's coming from the inside, of course, but it's something that you can really see during the episodes, and it's not something that they can or they have to find inside themselves. So there is this huge contrast between outside and inside that is making a difference from the previous seasons. But then the more we went on, the more I saw that these stands are anyway part of them. So it's like as if it's a reflection of their power, externally speaking, and it's not bad, but it's strange. Yeah, when I saw part five some years ago, I was saying, oh, what are they? I mean, why they have to uh, why they need this shield to protect them, and what's going on? What's that? Okay. But now that they explained to me with that beautiful scene, yeah, in which Joseph was coming to meet the Jotaro in jail, and over there, you see once again that Jotaro, for example, is so self-confident about what he says, what he wants to do, etc., etc. But then, when Joseph with Abdul they are coming, they are going to show him that he shouldn't be so self-confident from the beginning, and he shouldn't judge things that are going on until the end. And this is something that happened with the Joseph in part two. I really like that thing. Usually in shonen manga, or anyway shonen characters, the main hero or the main character is always so self-confident. He thinks that he can beat everybody, that he's strong enough and things like this. But later you always have the example that they are wrong, or it was too good to be true, and things like this. So this is the main standard for a shonen, I guess. I think even in these cases, you see that even Jotaro, no matter how tall he is, during these first part, sometimes you see his insecurities from his face, or the fact that he's not defeating the stands immediately, and there is something happening. Okay, then he can defeat them. But there are those moments in which he's feeling so self-confident, but then something is proving him that he is wrong, so he has to go back and think, okay, wait a second, and then he's going to defeat them. So um, I think Joseph was the main protagonist in part two, thinking something like this. That means until it's ending for real, we should not stop thinking of a plan B, plan C, plan D, etc., etc. So I really like that side of Joseph, and I think that it's going to start even in Jotaro's mind. This thing, and at the end of part one, we see this thing. I mean, we see that Jotaro keeps going on planning, making a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And even if the stands, in this case, they believe that they are going to defeat him, no, in his mind, is starting um, creating these other plans that can help him throughout the adventure. So, yeah, I think there are so many connections, as you can see, between the previous generation and this one. So, absolutely. Then another thing, another main theme, of course, of this JoJo that is in common with the other and with many other shonen manga, is the revenge. Absolutely. In this case, Dio wants to get his revenge, his personal revenge, after all these decades. And I think that now he is angrier than ever, because now that he can come back, he has all the possibility somehow to regain the power he lost. And I think he will do everything he can. So in part two, maybe we will find somebody who's going to die, as much as it happened with the part two with the Caesar, and in part one with the Joseph, with the Jonathan's dad, or with Zeppelin. So I think, yeah, something like this is happening too in part two, maybe. I don't know, I'm just guessing. But for now, this revenge, this will to prevail on the Joestar family, because even from Dio's point of view, this is a curse. I mean, not just from the Joestar's family, but even from Dio Brando's point of view, it seems like a curse, because every time he can't do anything because there is a Joestar that is about to attack him, as much as the Joestars, they can't breathe in peace, they can't have a happy life because Dio Brando is coming back. So these contraposition, it can be seen as a curse from both sides, not just from the Joestars side. Um, but yeah, I think that in part two, Dio will defeat somebody, some of them, one of these members, because it's too good to be true that they are all going to survive. This is what I've learned from the previous two seasons. So let's see if I'm right or wrong. Let's see. I will stay tuned. I will start it tomorrow, I guess, part two, or no, tomorrow, no, but maybe later today. Let's see. Um, Another amazing theme that is underlined not just in JoJo but in great shonen manga in which the main theme is the adventure. We find it here too. The adventure that doesn't have just these good connotation. Because when we think about the adventure, usually we think, oh, well, that's great. I love an adventure. I love to have adventures in my life. Yes. And usually we describe it as something great, as something beautiful, something unforgettable, and things like this on a positive side, yes. But usually, and most of the times, adventures are also can mean also something bad, not just something good, but even disadventures, even mistakes or problems, dangerous moments, and things like this. And in this first part, we saw the adventure described in so many ways that it was realistic somehow, even if it was too bizarre for some other reasons. But I really like that Araki wants to portray the adventure not just for something that is, yeah, we go to explore this or we are going to Egypt. No, they know that that they are approaching something bad. But the good thing is that even through the adventure they are experiencing something really bad. And this is life. I mean, life is this is a great adventure, but it can be good sometimes and it can be even bad some other times. So I like that this is sort of a realistic aspect of this first part. And anyway, yeah, we saw it even in JoJo Part 2 and JoJo Part 1. There is not a good adventure only. And once again, we have a good versus bad. Once again, this opposite that is predominant in this part of the third season. But yeah, once again, they go to many countries. I noted them down because otherwise I would have forgotten for sure one. But they go to Hong Kong, they go to Singapore, India, Pakistan, Emirates, and the Red Sea before reaching the shore, in which they understand that they are in Egypt. Throughout all these countries, they find many problems that they have to defeat, many stands, because we know that Dio decided to put through their paths some temptations, some way to separate them, all these tricks that are typical of the evil character that is that wants to defeat the main problem that is the Joesters in this case. But they find even that little girl that I think I don't want that you correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just a feeling. She will be the mother of Jolene. This is what I felt because at the beginning, Jotaro didn't care about her. But the more we go on with the story, the more we see that she wants, of course, to stay next to Jotaro because kakkoi. Also, from his point of view, we see that he cares about her in a different way, in his way, but he always wants to see if she's okay. And instead of asking her, "Are you okay?" he's saying, "Oh, you are always putting us in danger and things like this." But it's a way for him to detect her, to find her. And even when he was saying goodbye at the end, we see that he wanted to give her a special attention, appearing while the airplane was going away. So he was taking off. So yeah, I think she's the mom of Jolene. Also because because of her skin. But yeah, I think she will be the mother of Jolene. I don't want to be so obvious by saying this, but okay, let's stay tuned. But by looking at Jolene in the trailer, I think yeah, that's her mom. Okay, let's see, because usually we see that the Joesters when they get in touch with a woman. At the beginning, they are not so confident with one another. They don't accept one another at the beginning, but later they become the wife, or we see, like in the case of Battle Tendency, Susie, that is at the beginning she's fighting against the Joseph, or they are not going well with one another, but then they marry. So never say never in life. Yeah, every great relationship starts from I hate you, or I don't like you, or some things like this. So okay, let's keep an eye on her. Anyway, even if they separated from her, I think in part two they will meet her again, because this is what happened even with the Susie in part two, that she stayed over there with Lisa, and at the same time, no, she didn't stay with Lisa. Lisa went away with the Joseph. Speedwagon, but she was staying there, and then Joseph came back to her. So I think that the same thing is happening even in this case between Jotaro and her. Let's see. Another theme that is quite important in this season three, part one, I think it's the team. Because once again, even in this story, we see, even in previous seasons, of course, but in this season more than ever, I guess, the power of the team. Because at the beginning they are just Jotaro and Joseph, as we all know, and Abdul, yes, as we all know. But later we see that thanks to some events happening, even other two members of Dio, they are going to the Jotaro's side. One is Kakyoin, who is saved by Jotaro because he was about to die thanks to this curse that he had because of Dio. And the other one is Polnareff, that he could survive after the Abdul match. And both of them, they realize that it's not so bad to stay on this side. And the fact that they want to help Jotaro, Joseph, and Abdul, I find it really beautiful, because usually we have this tendency to have a good and evil, and there is a great separation, and there is no turning back, or nobody's going to change sides and things like this. I mean, it's something so evident. But then in this story, as in some others, it's not just JoJo, of course, but we see that they can change their mind, and they can step on this side too. If we wanted to have some other examples that come to my mind right now, I can say that in Full Metal Alchemist we have Greed, for example, that is changing his side, or Scar, one another important character, or in the case of a Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, we have Hyunkeru, that is changing his side, Crocodile, that is changing his side once again, Baran, one of the most important characters. So as you can see, even in other stories, you see that they can change side. They can change their mind. And even in this case, it happened with these two members. And I was so happy, to be honest, because, okay, in the case of Kakyoin, he was mentally brainwashed by Dio to do something that he ordered. But yeah, in the case of Polnareff, there is this revenge he wants to have for his sister. So he was always feeling pain inside himself. But once he joined this group, he was enjoying more, he was laughing more, and he was having fun. So I think that what they did was a good thing. Not because I stand on Jotaro's side, or because I stand on the Joestar's side, but in general, it's so good to change your mind. It's not good to keep the same thoughts over and over again. It's so great when you have the possibility to change your life, or to, yeah, change your opinions. It's not something bad. It's not that you are a coward. It's not that you are a vile person. No, it's just that you grow, you become more mature, and by having these acknowledged, by knowing many other things that you didn't know before. So in the case of Polnareff and Kakyoin, they were just tricked, or they were manipulated by Dio, because all of them, they were saying, oh, Dio paid me and things like this, because yeah, the most important and problematic thing of this world too is money. So even in season 3 part 1 here we see that Dio is trying to corrupt them thanks to money. They are trying to scare them by telling them that he's going to give them money, so they are forced somehow to do what Dio wants. First of all, because they are not powerful as he is and they are intimidated, and second of all because when it's about money, okay, I'm ready to do it. And this is so wrong. So I think Araki wanted to underline this thing throughout the story. And many people have fun watching JoJo. I know this. But I think that sometimes what Araki wants to convey as a message is really deep and it's really important, no matter the memes and all the stuff about JoJo. But I think that even in this case, yeah, the theme of the money that can corrupt people, or just by saying, "Look, I give you more money," and a person is able to do even the impossible. I think this is so wrong, and this is something to condemn. But yeah, absolutely. These going back to the main theme, these team, the power of the team that is confronting many disadvantages or disadventures, and all together they compensate one another. I mean, if one is in a difficult moment, the others are coming. This reminds me, yeah. Tomorrow Dragon Quest, because even in Dragon Quest you have this power of the team that when somebody is in danger, the other one is coming to rescue the others, and this is so good. I think this team one for all for one is one of the most repeated and important themes or subjects in shonen manga. Another example I can give you is One Piece. Okay, even in that case, but even in Naruto, the team is always the most important thing, and that makes you understand that without a team, you can't do everything by yourself. This is so great. I really appreciate this. Um, Many people like main characters who are self-confident, who don't need the others, who are going to confront all the enemies by themselves, who are arrogant, la 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 la. Now, in this case, even an arrogant at the beginning character like Jotaro, he needs the others. There are moments in which, without the others, he can't do anything. For example, when he was confronting that stand, I think he was in the Emirates. I don't remember, or Pakistan. No, maybe in Pakistan. When he was next to the kebab shop, and yeah, there was this problem with the Joseph. That he got the stand inside him, and he was about to explode or to die in some minutes. Okay, later, in that moment, Jotaro couldn't do anything to save the situation, but thanks to Kakyoing and Polnareff on the other side and Joseph too, they could handle this thing. So as you can see, Jotaro is so strong, and even his stand, the Star Platinum, it's so strong. But there are moments in which even the main heroes they need help, and this is what I really like to see. Even in other stories, you know that I like to see these things. So I appreciated that too. Then, in other aspects I like about Araki is that in his story, he's always quoting some things from the real world. It can be a literature quote, it can be a fairy tale quote, it can be a science quote when he has to explain what happened as a chemical reaction, or something historical, these ancient culture things that I really like too. I like how Araki is exploring different subjects in different ways, and there is always an explanation for what's happening. This is what I really like. So thumbs up for Araki also for this. In fact, in this case, he was quoting Aesopus for the fairy tales. Um, and I really, he was quoting, of course, the ancient culture of the Egypt, Egyptians. He was always giving an explanation of all the places this team was going to to face. I mean, I really like when there are explanations like this. Then there are some quotes like movies. It's funny, but it has an intention. I mean, it's not just funny. It's funny, but Araki knows what to say. Araki knows what to do, how to explain things, and yeah, I really like these quotes here and there, in which yeah, they are pretty useful, but in which you can understand what's going on and why Araki decided to put that stand for this particular reason, why there was this connection for this, why there was this connection for that. I mean, yeah, I really like these things a lot, a lot. Like the theme of the dream, for example, we were going to talk about it later, but even in that case, well, the dream, I can think about Freud if we talk about dreams. So, uh, all these little connections that they are making this story not just a laughable, ha ha ha, because of the poses they are making, but there is even something else that is deep and it deserves, absolutely. Um, then, okay, I said this. Once again, another subject involved here is the manipulation of the mind. You can call it brainwash, you can call it temptation, you can call it how much you want, but that's the main thing. We saw it in many cases. For example, even when Dio wanted to try to trick Abdul, for example, or when he wanted to trick them because of his personal advantage by touching the weak points he knew. Like, for example, in Polnareff, I think in the Polnareff's case, I think that Dio tricked him by knowing that Jay Guile killed his sister, for example. So I think, yeah, Dio is a great manipulator and he knows the weak points of his antagonists, and that's why, by having the body of Jonathan, I can't wait to see in part two what's going on, what's going to happen, and how he will joke about these things. So the others will be so angry and they will start losing their temper. Probably that's what Dio wants at the end of the day, maybe. But yeah, this is something that I noticed. And even in the case of Kakyoin, when he was controlled by this thing he had inside his head, and he maybe didn't want to attack Jotaro at the beginning when he was at the temple, but later he after this thing came away from went away from his head, thanks to Jotaro, then another Kakyoin came out. So even in that case, you understand that Dio tried to manipulate Kakyoin. But Kakyoin actually was the one who saved them so many times. So it was something good that he was coming with them. And I really liked them. Even the character of Kakyoin, I think he was really, really nice together with this team. Um, then we have the temptation, of course, as I was telling you, I already told you. Another aspect that I found here, and that I could find it even in other JoJo, in the previous JoJo, was the loyalty, or the fact that when your opponent is defeated, you don't want to go further. I mean, you want them to die in the most respectable way. I think that's another thing I liked. Or to play fairly when there was a Polnareff and Abdul match. You see that Abdul preferred to stop at a certain point because it was better for him to die, for Polnareff to die in the most respectable way. In this thing, we saw it even in previous seasons, when even Joseph with Wamu, I think, yeah, when he was defeating Wamu, even Joseph, he said, okay, I will not go further, even if I can, but it's better if you die like this. by respecting your death and by respecting your thoughts. So even in this part one of Stardust Crusaders, we see this aspect, especially during the Abdul and Polnareff's duel. We see this thing because even Abdul is saying it, and I think that there is even this connection with the previous seasons that it's not so obvious, but you just have to follow the story, of course. Um, then, yeah, I was talking about revenge previously about Dio, and his will to regain the power he lost previously after season one. But even another type of revenge, the revenge that Polnareff wants to have. Yeah, absolutely. He has this story regarding his sister, and he is always thinking that he is the fault guy, that it's because of him that she died, or the fact that he couldn't rescue her. There's a thing is happening in other stories too. The guilt of not being able to save someone. And Polnareff that day was not with her, so it was not his fault actually. But and the thing is that when you know that you could have been there, but you were not there, you feel guilty. Absolutely. And I think that this thing is so important because you can understand that even a secondary character like Polnareff actually can become one of the main protagonists of this part one, because even later when he wants to separate from the others and he's risking by separating from the others to kill himself, he doesn't care because the most important thing is to avenge his sister. And even in that case, by doing what happened, yeah, with the whole horse and with the Jay Guile and things like this, you understand how a team, going back to the theme of the team, how a team can be fragile. And Dio was using these moments in particular for this reason, because the main thing was to separate them, to make them feel more fragile than before. But the good thing is what it was that they were so strong enough to understand the situation, even if Polnareff didn't at the beginning, but later he understood. And he understood that the most important thing is not to pay attention on our feelings in that specific moment, to keep them aside for a little bit and to reach the main goal they have. Otherwise, everything they had done before was ruined, was vanishing. So yeah, that thing. But I understand the Polnareff because this sort of pain doesn't go away. This sort of pain, I think that only people who have lost a relative can understand, especially in the cases like in the case of the sister of Polnareff. So I understand his pain, and I also think that he wanted to do something like this for good, but at that moment the intention was totally wrong, because by separating, as I told you, there was the risk. Or when at the end of Stardust Crusader, when they reach that island and he has to wish three desires, three wishes, of course, he wished to have his sister back. I think we all would have done the same thing if we were in his position. But the fact that he wanted to revive his sister because he couldn't accept her death, this is another theme that is coming over and over again in other stories. We have this main theme, the non acceptance of death. And I'm happy for Polnareff that at the end he could accept her death somehow, even if it was pretty painful, but he could do this. So it was like a step forward for a new life he could have had. Even if I understand absolutely what does it feel, or I understand how painful it can be to ask yourself, if that day I went back home before her, or I could have picked her up and go back home together. This would have not happened. We don't know, but this feeling of being guilty, being not responsible, and not there for her, I understand that too. Plus, I understand the will to revive her, even if it's something that can't happen. And in fact, throughout these final episodes, you see that even Polnareff is realizing, look, this is something not natural, unnatural, and this is not going to happen. I have to accept this. And in fact, with all the tears falling, he accepted it. Even if it was a little bit late, but it's better that a thing is happening late instead of never happening. So I think, yeah, that was good too. Um, then, and this is connected with the second thing I wanted to say regarding this, that for some aspects, Polnareff in that moment was the result of a selfishness, because even in the case of Abdul's death, he preferred to go on with his mission by himself, risking risking the team to be split, but also there was the risk that the members left could have had problems because of this. And in fact, Abdul had this problem. And the thing happened because, of course, Polnareff was too selfish to think about something that regarded himself only and not the other members. So I think that Polnareff, throughout this adventure, got many things, understood many aspects that he could have never understood them if he would have not joined this team. So I think once again, the fact that he joined the team was really useful and was really appropriate, as much as for Kakyoin, for example. But yeah, this was the result of his selfishness. And even if Abdul is alive, good job, thank God. But I think that Polnareff understood the lesson. He understood that by seeing Abdul dying in front of his eyes, he recognized his selfishness and how bad it was for him to do what he did. So, absolutely, I think that this was a turning point too for his character. And when he was crying for Abdul while he was dying, let's say, I think you noticed, but he was crying without showing the tears to Kakyoin. And that moment reminded me Lisa in season 2, when she didn't want to show her crying for Caesar's death. I think that was the same thing. The pride not to show your tears because you're a man and men don't cry and things like this. Or men don't want to show their fragility. And yeah, this is another common thing that is happening not just in JoJo, but in other stories. But to be honest, recently, but even, yeah, some stories before, you see many male characters crying, and this is something I appreciate, to be honest. I like to see the fragility not just in women but even in men, and I think this was something good, because then, if you remember, Polnareff is turning and he's showing his tears, so that was another step forward for his personal attitudes. Once again, I say one more time, the temptation. We see the temptation through money. We see the temptation through, in this case, once again, we are talking about Polnareff when he is meeting Nena, and Nena is trying to attract him, sexually speaking or physically speaking, because she knows that Polnareff is attracted by beautiful women. So she was trying to separate him once again, because while Joseph had that problem of the stand here on his arm, and he was trying to find the other members, Nena, was attracting Polnareff to stay next to her, to look at her, so Joseph couldn't find him. This is another temptation, of course. Um, then another thing I wanted to say is we were talking about revenge, okay? But there are different kinds of revenge. We have the revenge handled by Dio because he wants his power back. We have the revenge of Polnareff who wants to avenge his sister who died because he was not there and because he couldn't beat that stand of Jay Guile. And then we have even the revenge that Enya has while she knows after she knows that Jay Guile is dead. So we have even this revenge of a mother that wants to avenge the son who's dead because of others. And we see even this point of view of Enya, who is helping Dio to become even more powerful, or she's helping him understanding what's a stand, what does it mean. I mean, she's giving all her knowledge to Dio. And when she discovers that her son is dead, of course, she feels bad. She wants to avenge her son and she wants to kill Jotaro and all the others. But the good thing, no, it's not good, but the thing is that once she is going together with them, because she is caught by Jotaro and all the others once she is defeated, she is betrayed by Dio because Dio is not coming for her to save her. No, not at all. She was about to explode. I mean, she was about to be killed because she was not useful anymore. But till the end of her life, she didn't want to betray Dio instead. So she was really loyal from that point of view. But on the other side, yeah, she was mean because she was a stand master, and of course she's going against our main protagonists, so she's seen as the villain. But on if we put ourselves in her position, of course when you see your son being killed, you want to avenge him or her. So I like that every time we can put ourselves in different characters positions so we can have a different view of the story. But even in the case of Enya, going back to what I told you about these sort of double personality, we see it even in the case of Enya that she has one personality in front of Jotaro's team and the other personality appearing immediately after while they are turning their backs. So, of course, that was part of her avenge because she wanted to avenge her son. But yeah, you see these changing of a face that is scary, let's say. Um, but yeah, I forgot to tell you one thing that maybe can be connected with the one thing that I told you about Jotaro at the beginning. I like how Jotaro is really calm. I mean, he is not screaming, except for the Star Platinum when he is punching instead of Jotaro. Hora, 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 hora. But I like how he is calm during many situations because he is analyzing what he can perceive if there is a danger coming, if there is something suspicious. He is always calm, firm during those moments, and I really like that because for example, Paul and Kyoing, they are they are screaming or they are feeling the tension, but Jotaro, no matter the situation, he's always a calm. He seems that he's not being affected, but he is, even if he's not showing it to you. But I like this stillness that he has while projecting in his mind what to do. And I think he took this aside from his grandpa. Yes, because even Joseph, he was always planning by thinking, by focusing, and things like this. So, as you can see, there is these generations that are taking inspiration from the others, or it's just the genetics, okay? But yeah, I noticed this, and I really like this aspect of him. Instead of screaming and doing blah 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 blah, blah, he prefers a stillness. I definitely appreciate this. And another thing that is important, that is defining, yeah, let's say, underlining the personality of Jotaro, is when he wants to go beyond his pride to save his grandpa. I really liked that moment when he was risking, I mean, he was somehow Joseph was risking his life because this stand went inside his ear and Kakyoin and Polnareff had to find a way to rescue him. In that moment, Joseph couldn't punch the stand because, of course, if he punched the stand master, if he punched the Steely Dan, there was the problem that Joseph could have felt all the pain. In that moment, you see how Jotaro is going beyond his own pride, and he's receiving punches, kickings, and things like this because he has to do something like this. He has to protect his grandpa. And this is another way to show you that Jotaro has this kindness that is deep inside his heart, that it's not appearing usually, but it's there, and it's not something that it doesn't exist. It exists, but he has his own way to show this to others. Um, and then, of course, he's avenging for what happened later with the Steely Dan in another way. Once he knows that his grandpa is alive and he is safe, okay, let me get my revenge for all the kickings and all the punches that I received. um, Another beautiful thing that I liked was how Araki decided to put these members of this team in the desert, because the desert is another setting full of dangers. Usually we see the desert as if it's a uniform, I mean, as if it's not changing, as if it's something that is the same, that stays the same night and day. But no, the desert is one of the most dangerous places in the world. So uh, the fact that they had to be extremely careful, and all the bad encounters they had while they were during their journey in the desert explains you this, that the desert is something you shouldn't underestimate. And this is what I liked too. Another thing I can tell you is that even in this season 3 part 1, the appearance can trick you. One main example is, yes, Nena, we said it before, while she was trying to trick Polnareff thanks to her physical appearance. But even, absolutely, even Enya with her kindness while she was taking them in this hotel that didn't exist, and it was created just to trick them, and she was really kind with them just because she had to. But another thing was that baby boy that was the stand master of Death 13. I think that was the main illusion, the main fake appearance, and things like this make you understand that you should never judge people from appearance, because then you can be disappointed, you can be tricked, you can be manipulated, and things like this. So you can be corrupted. So a good thing is that we shouldn't we shouldn't judge people so easily. And this is another great thing that happened here. And connected with this baby boy, we can say that there is even the subject of the dream that we have always seen recently. And once again, I tell you that JoJo inspired Demon Slayer once again. As I was telling you in part 2 and part 1, we find the theme of the dream, the fact that the dream, when you're inside your dreams, this can be something good, but even something really bad. And in fact, thanks to this standard Death 13, the problems were increasing, and the tension, these anxiety that even Kakyoin was feeling because nobody believed in him. And this is another great subject. Never betray your comrades. I mean, while Kakyoin was trying all his best to tell them that the baby boy was the stand master, nobody believed in him, and then we understood that they did. But that moment, it was full of frustration, full of anxiety if we put ourselves in his position. And yeah, absolutely, I think that that moment was one of the peaks of this story. But this first part, but yeah, this is the theme of the dream. The dream that can turn into the nightmare, the dream in which you can be tricked, or the dream that can show you what you really wanted to do, or a beautiful setting that is over there because it has to trick you and things like this. Yeah, it reminds me Demon Slayer with the Mugen Train. Once again, Demon Slayer took lots of inspiration from JoJo. We have to be realistic. This is something that we can't deny. But yeah, I put another example regarding the dream. It can be Naruto with the Mugen Tsukuyomi, or even a Sailor Moon with the last two movies of the Sailor Moon Eternal. Even there, the dream that could trick you, that could trap you inside, and you couldn't go out anymore. So this theme that is coming over and over again in other stories. And last but not least, I told you already, this feeling of guilt that Polnareff has, especially at the end when he is discovering that there is this um, stand that could make these three wishes come true, but then he understood that he's tricked once again. So it's like a loop, okay? It's a never ending thing that is happening over and over and over again. And that this is another temptation. See, the temptation is part of this story. It depends on the context, it depends on the characters, but it's one of the main subjects here. Last but not least, is this relationship that Jotaro is starting having with Susie, with his grandma. I really liked the phone calls they had. I really liked how they interacted because Susie understood one side of Jotaro. That once again, I tell you, it seems to be underwater or behind the skin he has, but there is this side of his personality, and I'm happy that Susie wanted to talk to him more, that he wanted to listen to his voice more, that she wanted to be there for him as a presence. Because I think Jotaro needs to know that some people are there for him, that he doesn't have to do everything by himself and just because of him. I think he really needs to know that there are people who care about him, even if he doesn't want to hear these words. On the external part, on this facial expression that doesn't let you understand anything about his feelings. But once he knew that Susie grandma wanted to talk to him, that, and while he was replying, while they were in the submarine and everything was collapsing, but she wanted to call Joseph once again, and he was saying, Granny, everything is okay. I'm with Grandpa for this reason, but everything is okay. I really liked that phone call too. I think that was one of the greatest moments regarding JoJo's personality, regarding Jotaro's personality. So once again, I want to say this. Um, and last but not least, when they are trying to emerge from the Red Sea and they reach Egypt, yeah, in that moment, once again, Jotaro, who was supposed to die, in those final instants, in those final moments in which he is hopeless, or all the team is hopeless because they think that he's dead, in that moment he is surviving because there is still that instinct like in season one with Jonathan, that this will to survive, this thing that is happening before dying, or these, yes, a few seconds before dying, or the few seconds before you're totally in danger. Yeah, this thing is happening in this part one too, not just in that moment, even in other moments while they are on the ship, while they are inside of the hotel, and things like this. So I really like that there is always, as I told you, there's a connection between these decades, between these generations, and between these genes, because these genes, these genetical things are passing from one decade to the other one. And I think, yeah, Jotaro here showed us once again that in those last seconds before dying, he is there to rescue the others or to save himself. I really liked that moment too. Okay, I reached the end of a part one. And of course, really soon I'm starting part two of Stardust Crusaders. Till now, I have to say that I like it. It was funny, it was shocking, it was bizarre. Yes, once again, it was bizarre. And yeah, I really enjoyed, and I hope to see what's happening in part two with the Dio, because they are reaching him and the obstacles will be multiple. But I can't wait to see how Jotaro will confront Dio. What is he going to tell him, especially because recognizing the fact that he has the body of a Jonathan, and the fact that he maybe can use these concentrical waves against Jotaro. Let's see, these stand versus the waves, and the stand of Dio. Because thanks to Enya, Dio could understand what a stand is. Was he able to create this stand too? How is his stand? Can't wait to watch it. Okay, I'm reading really quick your comments. Do you think Jonathan Joestar is underrated? He was an amazing and such a gentleman, Jojo. He deserves more love. Yes, I think he is underrated, and I think he's one of my favorite Joestars till now. I appreciated Jonathan so much. I really liked this character, so yeah, I think he is underrated. I really like the season one. To be honest, I really, really enjoyed it, even if it was a small 9 episodes, but it was really, really nice. Um, beh, Lorenzo, io ti rispondo adesso perché logicamente tu te la sei svignata, sei andato via, ma non mi interessa assolutamente niente di quello che il leaker ha da dirmi, o quello che il leaker ha da dire su Shingeki non mi interessa. Sì, ma non mi interessa chi è la regia, eccetera, eccetera. Per me Shingeki no Kyojin, lo ripeto, non è qualcosa di grafico. Per me Shingeki no Kyojin è la storia, e questo conta più di ogni altra cosa. Jotaro is actually my favorite JoJo too. Okay, I really like how even though he is not the best showing his feelings towards his family, his story shows how much he actually cares for his family. Yes, I understood, and I really agree with you. Yes, he really loves his grandparents. Yes, and in fact, even Joseph, as the grandpa of Jotaro, he really loved Erina. Do you remember? So there is even this aspect. Thank you, Jaws. There is even this aspect that is having something in common with the two Joestars. Yes, I totally agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah, Jotaro cares about Joseph, even if he doesn't want to reveal this so easily. But as a confirmation of that phone call, you understand that he really cares. Okay, guys, I think I told you everything that I had to tell you regarding these Stardust Crusaders part one. See you once I will finish part two, because then I have to start part four. That is quite long. I will do my best to finish everything before January the 7th. And thank you so much for the support. Thank you for joining me during this live streaming that is becoming a video once it's finished. And see you in the next video or live streaming. Thank you so much for the support. Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your support. Bye. See you. Bye.